This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the town of North Haven.
Good evening. I'd like to call the October 16, 2018 meeting of the North Haven Board of Education to order at 6:30 p.m. Has everyone had a chance to review the consent agenda and the minutes of the September 13th meeting? May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All against? Motion passes. And you are up, my friend.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
So, by North Haven High School, we finished our class elections and we now have our 40 officers. We're planning on doing a prom ticket raffle next week.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
A prom ticket raffle?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we might have a car wash this Saturday, but we're still working on plans.
I think it's supposed to rain
I was
Saturday.
gonna say, and it rains every other day, so.
Okay, then some other week then. We're also thinking of doing a badminton tournament to raise funds before our Thanksgiving break.
Badminton. Oh, that's
Yeah.
my sport.
I'm in.
Dr. Cronin said that's your type of sport.
And our president actually has one question for you guys.
Your president is who?
Jobin Valiavito.
Okay.
He's asking, are we allowed to give out community service hours, like towards like the 40-hour requirement, to get like people to, I guess, help motivate students to help out with the events?
What you'll need to do is, it would count, that volunteering would count for community service, but you need to speak to, he or you would need to speak to the person at the high school who's responsible for the community service. I don't know who that is.
I'm not sure if it's done. Yeah, I think it's Chris.
Okay, it's Chris. Oh, so you would talk to Mr. McLaughlin, and he could arrange that, because anytime you do community service hours, they like to have it run by the administrator before you put in for them. But so my suggestion would be that you and he meet with Mr. McLaughlin.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I always have community service hours for anybody that needs them.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Just while we're on the student report, I've spoken with Dr. Dowley, and we'll have a junior here starting in November.
Great, okay,
And it
good.
was on the, did you hear it on the announcements this morning?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
out there, yeah, I heard, yeah, so.
Great. Not that you don't do a good job for both seniors
Oh,
and
yeah,
juniors.
Tim.
Yeah.
I really, no, you could do it alone, but I just thought, why carry the whole weight of the high school, you know?
Okay, thanks.
All right, anything else, Tim?
I think that's it, thank you.
All right, great, thanks so much.
May I ask, the drama club is doing arsenic and old lace, is that?
I think so. I saw like posters around the school.
Okay, is
Yeah.
that, because it's usually first worked in November, is that, do you know the days?
I'm not sure of the day, I'm
Okay.
sorry, yeah.
Tim, if you think of it, could you ask someone to send us information about that? We don't advertise the fall production as well as we advertise the spring. And it's typically a drama, and
Yeah.
the ones I've gone to have been great.
They've been excellent.
Yeah.
The Wyoming project.
Yes.
Was excellent,
Exactly.
excellent. I've always liked, I forget, it was really great, I don't remember what it was last year, but I'm so impressed.
Oh, and then there were none.
And then they were
Yes.
none,
Yes,
yeah.
last year.
So I will mention it to Dr.
And then can
Dowley.
you send something out to
I
the
will
board?
send it all to you.
Or
Yeah.
personal stuff, okay. Thank you, Tim. So for my part of the report, I'm going to give it over to Phil Diana, who's going to give us a little update about, if you remember back in September, we had talked about looking into getting air conditioning at the elementary schools. And this is important to the board for student education and teachers being able to work in a good environment. So Phil, you want to talk to us?
Yeah, well, Jason and I have,
You gotta go to the microphone.
sorry.
He actually doesn't have to because he's part of the board, but it's okay if you go
I
ahead.
don't want to.
I don't know if the TV people are gonna hear him.
Can you hear that?
Okay.
Good, thank you. I'm fairly loud.
Okay.
Anyway, Jason and I sat down and discussed it. We picked, or I picked an engineer that I've worked with in the past. I've also worked with the town and in some of the town buildings. It's a company called Centec out of Branford. So with that, they, what I asked them to do was just do a feasibility study first, to go through all 4 of the elementary schools. And basically what they're gonna do is a site visit, check the conditions, equipment of each of the existing facilities and what's there presently. They're gonna determine the cooling loads that will be needed to determine how much equipment we need. So they'll go through the entire building, every room, hallways, offices, and check to see what's existing and what they're gonna need to cool the building. After they do that, they will check the structure of the building, from the roof to the outside of the building, because we're not sure exactly what type of equipment they're gonna need. Would it be installed on the roof, would it be installed on the ground? In any case, you're gonna need structural integrity report to make sure that the existing building can take the loads that we're gonna put on it. They're also going to break out for us the cost of doing all the rooms, and then they're gonna give us a separate cost just to do the gymnasium and the cafeterias. Now, we already have some air conditioning in the building, so even if we can't afford right away to do the entire school, we'll at least have some additional cooling in the gymnasiums and in the cafeterias, which will definitely help spread the students out.
Phil, could we also add to that in terms of common areas, the libraries?
Those are done already.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get a report on how those are,
Great.
equipment is existing.
Yep.
And if we need to upgrade them, repair them. They
It's
are-
just a good place when it's very warm, you can bring a few classes in there.
Exactly, so you'll have the libraries, you'll have the computer labs, you'll have the cafeteria, the gymnasium, at least, for these, students to go in during that. Also, they're gonna check the existing electrical panels and power coming into the building. New HVAC is gonna require quite a bit more power for each building, and we're fairly at capacity in most of the buildings. There's not much room to add, so we're gonna need to know what we're gonna have to do to upgrade the services. So with that, they'll also put a budget together after they complete all that work, and they'll give us some numbers on the cost for any structural work, any upgrades to electrical, what it will cost to do HVAC, and these are all budgetary numbers, just to give us an idea of where we're gonna be.
Great.
So it'll be pretty conclusive and full.
Did they give you a timeline for this?
I beg your pardon?
Did they give you a timeline when they'll start and finish?
Well, they'll start as soon as I put
Do
a
a purchase order.
together.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's,
Anyone have any questions for Phil on that?
Well, actually, not a Phil, thank you, Phil, that was exactly what I wanted to hear. Because I didn't know exactly, no, I know nothing about air conditioning, so, I wouldn't know how to go about it.
yeah, it's a lot harder than it might seem in an older building. Trying to get ductwork down the hallways, we're gonna put a different split unit in certain sections and just do rooms without running ductwork. Do you run ductwork on the roof,
Yeah.
on top of the roofs? And if you do that, the roof's so old that you shouldn't put them on until you repair the roofs.
I know.
So we need that thorough study just to give us all that information.
Yeah, I know this is complicated.
Definitely.
And, even if we follow the timeline, we are into this fiscal year already, and I'm concerned about what we can do to make students and teachers comfortable come June
This year.
of this year. I know that, and again, I had mentioned in the last meeting, is there anything that we can put in the budget for fans in rooms that don't have fans, or good quality fans? Because I'm very concerned about teachers bringing in fans that are old, or they're from tag sales, Walmart. I just, and I know that PTAs are very generous and have provided some, but I would like to see kind of some structure that we have a budget item that, and some good freestanding ones that are kind of quiet and can, it's not gonna make it, if it's humid day, it's just gonna move the air,
Right.
but,
Perhaps not something that we can put in our budget when we do it.
And we can look at that and look at what that might cost to do something even this spring.
We had taken all the ones that were out of the middle school, which were quite a few, and we had dispersed some throughout the schools to different areas. We actually loaned the new police department while they're making their changeover a couple, and we probably have 10 or 12 still in stock that I have down our shop, still put away, so.
So we could get those out. to
Oh, yeah,
people.
those are freestanding,
Yeah, well, I know, I had one for
yeah,
years.
Yeah, they're good, they're very good fans.
And Target, like, to me, Ridge Road, T-Wing gets the award for the most uncomfortable place you can be.
I hear it
You
all
know,
the time.
yeah, all the
It's very-
time.
It's very warm down
Yeah,
there.
and
Very
then,
warm.
and some of the.
All the schools
some
I've
of
been
the-
going
yeah,
through, with the
Clintonville,
heat
way
that we
they-
had, all the schools were pretty warm this year.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right, thank you, Phil.
And again, can we, you know, when you were talking about, we having to bid out our food service, every 5 years. I mean, I really would like a condition, if we can put it in, that our heat waves just don't happen. We don't get, you know, wake up in the morning and we know they're coming. And to have, I would assume the kitchens would be air conditioned along with the cafeteria.
They are to some degree, yeah.
I was in each floor.
Okay, I
of-
think,
with
Don,
the-
what we'll have to do is, we understand that we were concerned about the ovens being on
Yeah.
last year, so that is something that would, with Chartwell
Yeah.
or
We
whomever,
put that
we'll have a
in.
conversation with.
Yeah.
If we know that there's gonna be a 3-day heat wave again, that we find something not to use the ovens, let's use the
That's good,
stove.
yeah.
Thank
And-
you.
And, well, I was just gonna say, I hope that when we air condition the cafeteria, it automatically go into the kitchen.
Yeah, we're gonna look into that. No, our goal is eventually to have everything air conditioned.
Yeah. But you know what, this is gonna be expensive, because they're all buildings that were built,
1940s?
that's Ridge Road, I think
50s,
1948, yeah, there's, you know, early 60s, you
Okay.
know.
All right, thank you, Phil. So what I would like you to do, Phil, is when you do get their feasibility report back, to perhaps have you and them come speak to the board.
Absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
I'll have them do a presentation for us, absolutely.
So, Phil, just one more thing on that. Is there a possibility that if we move on this tomorrow, if you were to start moving on this tomorrow, that they would have some information so that when the board is working on budget for 2000?
I can have it before budget,
Okay,
before final budget. I'm sure that we're in October, November, December. I'm sure we can have it by January.
that would be great. When they do their workshops, that would be great.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there anything from unfinished business that we need to bring up tonight?
I think so.
Any new business anyone wants to bring up tonight? Okay, well, let's go to the reports of standing committees. Dot, ACES?
Yes. ACES, we met last Thursday, and the Leader Hill construction has been delayed by about a month, so they will, they're still going to be opening in September of 2019. When they make the calendar, they're probably going to have school start in, after Labor Day, just to buy them a couple of weeks. And they will develop a regional calendar, but districts can do their own thing, which we've been doing anyway, so, yeah, but I was happy with that. Wintergreen School, as I think I reported, Hamden has intention of taking over. Well, nothing is ever quite as simple as they think. They've had meetings with, Wintergreen has over 300 students from Hamden who attend that school. So the parents are very concerned about having them uprooted. And actually, Wintergreen has more Hamden students than some of their smaller schools. So I know they're gonna be meeting with the mayor. I think that meeting was happening this week.
They're looking at a large-scale redistricting and reappropriation. Is that not right?
Yeah, I think they were talking about closing some of the smaller
Oh,
schools.
yeah.
Yeah. The thing that probably affects us was that there was a lengthy discussion on the language that was used to report seclusion and restraint. And it's, they've been doing a lot of training of staff, and more on the, how you report it. So I assume that we're probably.
Dana has done some of that as well with our
Yeah.
staff, because there was some concern about how it was being reported.
Yeah, right.
There were things, as I understand it, that there were things that were being reported that need not be, which was reflecting poorly on districts.
Right, and, or things that were being reported as one thing, but it was something else.
Right,
Yes.
the language
So,
was.
it's that, it wasn't the change in the law, it was
Right.
the way the language. And the last thing is, the Mill Road School, which is on Mill Road, the name has been changed to the Aces Mill Academy. And it's serving grades just 4 through 8. And the younger students that attended Mill Road are attending, it's St. Stephen, the old St. Stephen's. And they're,
Did they buy, Asians buy St. Stephen's?
I don't know if they're buying or they're renting it, I'm not quite sure. And that's for the K-4, and that's the, I think the Mill Road Elementary, I forget what the name was. And what they're doing is they're doing a lot of work and a lot of training on trauma, because a lot of their students, there's a group in New Haven Alive where they go into the schools and they've been working, and they're having very good success in a very short period of time, so, that's it.
Thank you, Dawn. Since Wes is not here, Melinda, would you do
Yes,
curriculum?
I plan to do that for my report. I'll take his
Okay.
update. We met on October 1st, the CNI group, and we had some discussion around changing the level designation for project adventure facilitators. So Russ and I are doing a little bit of work with Jane Sanford to see if it's something that we want to maybe do for all facilitators, PE and Project Adventure, so we're gonna follow back up on that next month. There were 2 new course proposals, Culinary 2 and a Sewing and Design 2. Both are continuations of courses that we've had that students are traveling through a progression now. And we discussed 2 field trip requests that are gonna come before the board. One is for a photo convention in New York City, and then the other is for culinary and interior design classes to go to Newport. And then there'll be a third one when we get to that part that is to Ellis Island, but it missed the CNI meeting, but it's one that has been happening each year. And along that same idea, at our November CNI meeting, I'm going to bring all of the out-of-state and overnight field trips that we have to date, which is the majority of them, and we'll go through them there, and then our November meeting, we can do those approvals. So we kind of can just do them in one bucket instead of piece by piece.
Just going back to the new course proposals, we're gonna look at doing part 2 of these.
Right.
What happens now? What do we have now?
We
in
have
place?
like culinary 1, so
Yeah.
this is a progression, and we don't need any new staff for it, because it's just a reallocating of teaching assignments. And for instance, the culinary, Tracy Planishek, who has been here for field trip proposals, she has been doing a lot of independent studies with students.
Okay.
And so this is just kind of making it more official so that they have a set track.
Okay.
And then we're working with Gateway also to try to get some of those credits in that partnership that we belong to. So it's really good for kids.
Okay. Thanks. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, then going to the field trips, why don't we start now? May I have a motion to approve a high school art field trip to Photo Plus Expo at the Javits Center in New York City on October 25th? So moved. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Field trip is approved. May I have a motion to approve a field trip request to the Newport, Rhode Island Mansions for high school students currently enrolled in the interior design course? The trip is planned to be scheduled at some point in November or December 2018. And once the trip is approved, the date will be confirmed. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? I like the idea that they're not gonna do it after December, because
We're
we're
gonna
worried
try to
about the
get in with the
weather.
weather and not on a Friday.
Right.
Yeah, and then the one in New York, they want to take the train.
Yeah, I
Because,
saw that.
well, I think it's a good idea
Yeah,
because
we
you
do.
can sit on the bus
Yeah.
forever in
In
traffic.
Stamford.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll let you know how that is tomorrow and Thursday. Next, may I have a motion to approve an 11th grade U.S. History class field trip request to Ellis Island and the 9/11 Museum in New York City on either November 9th or November 16th. Once again, the date will be confirmed when the trip is approved.
Aren't those Fridays? The 16th is a Friday.
I'm not sure on the date on that.
Yeah, he said the date will be confirmed, so we can tell them that we don't want it on a Friday,
No,
that we approve, if it passes, that we approve the date, but just not on a Friday. But I think you're right, the 16th is a Friday.
It is.
So is the 9th. The 9th might be too,
Yeah, that's a week
Is that,
before.
what's the issue with Fridays? I don't,
Traffic.
oh, the traffic.
Yeah.
I would think it's because it's a weekend, that would be the best time.
Yeah, as the traffic. So if you can talk to,
let the high
once
school
this
know.
passes, if you can talk to Anthony?
Yeah, do you think maybe the teachers prefer it on a Friday because it's a big day and they just want the next day to recover? It's a big trip, with with a lot to manage. I'm just putting that out there, I don't know. Okay.
We'd
I'll defer
prefer
to the
not to.
I was
be
gonna
a
say,
Friday.
if you're comfortable, I'll tell them that the preference is not on a Friday.
Yes.
If it
Right.
means that they can't go
Right.
because there's no other options
Right, our
that.
preference
That
would be
sounds
not
good,
to do
yeah.
Friday. Okay.
Thursday and then watch a video on a Friday.
And it may have something to do with the AB cycle too, I'm not,
That could be
that
too.
I'm not sure either,
Yeah.
but,
Well,
you know,
that's
at
because-
this point, they know what the A and B is, once we get a snow day, then it's all out of whack. But-
Because Veterans Day would be in between the
Right.
9th and the 16th, so
Right.
it probably is an A and a B day.
Right,
Yeah. Okay.
but I'll share back with them.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let Anthony know if he needs a chaperone to give me a call. I have never been to Ellis Island.
Beautiful.
I know, I keep saying I'd go. Okay. All in favor? I did that already.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, motion passes with, we prefer not to be a Friday, but if it has to be, it's not an issue. Brian, finance and operations?
Finance and operation met earlier this evening. We moved the venue into here to accommodate more people because Jason feels that we could start doing trial balances and get more attendance here. But Jason, being here, has put together a new outline using the Munis, having the 8 executive major line items. I think it's easier, user-friendly to read if you actually look at your packet, and seeing what lines are actually moving. So that was helpful. Then he talked about closing out the prior year and the upcoming year. And then we also talked about Phil with the feasibility study and air conditioning.
Thank you.
And that's what was the major line items that we talked about there.
Thank you. Gould, did you have anything for the building committee?
Yeah, so I was able to speak with Gary Johnson, get information from the last 2 meetings. I wasn't able to make it. Last week, the committee went to the middle school to actually do a physical inspection of the floor, the gym floor, and they felt that it needed to be replaced. So Perkins and Eastman is doing they're doing a design for the project, and the hope is that summer of next year they'll be able to change it. They felt that it was really bad, that they needed to change it, so they're going to work on changing that. The estimates are coming in probably about $320,000.
So remind me where that money's coming from?
It's coming from the building committee.
They have the money in their account, or,
Yeah, right now.
And-
So it's coming from them.
so is that money take away from other things that have to be done, or that we're still on the list? I mean, this is a
So
priority to
they haven't
me.
really got into that list yet. They're just trying to take care of what needs to be done, the
Mhm.
needs first. So this is one of the things that needs to be done. The money, the balance is probably about 500,000. That includes the 350. But it's a moving target. So basically, as things start to shut down and balances are returned to the account from different contractors and things like that, it's a fluctuating number.
Okay.
But they said they need to fix the gym floor.
Well, that's
So they're gonna do
priority
it next
to be done.
next summer. Also, the solar panels are ready. You know, he wasn't sure if it had been switched and had been turned on. Phil was gonna look into that, but they are ready to go. And like I said, the balance is about 500,000 as of right now. Next meeting is the 29th of October at 8:15.
Okay, thank you, Goldie. North Haven Education Foundation, Joe?
The foundation met, the primary discussion was on the Community Star event that's gonna be held it's gonna be a Thursday, November 15th at the North Haven Middle School from 5:30 to 8:30. The honorees, and I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name here, are David Mikos, Larry Lazaroff, and Linda Battalion. And tickets will be $20 to the event. The foundation's moved up its next meeting to November 7th, which I think is the day before our next meeting. So all the final details of the event I'll be able to bring to us at
What
that
was the
time.
date again of that
It's the
event?
15th. It's
The
a
15th.
Thursday,
Okay.
15th of November.
All three of those people have been phenomenal in what they give back to our town and to education.
It's well
So
deserved for all of
if
them.
any of us can attend, being at the middle school, I know I'll plan to attend if I'm in town. Thank you. Policy, did we have to go through a second look at something?
We're still working on the seclusion and restraint to work in some of, Amanda had suggested something about the resource officer, I believe, when we talked about it. I mentioned that to Dana, and she's doing it.
Okay, okay.
So we'll bring that back.
Okay, that was my only question on that. PTA Council, Amanda?
Yep, so we met and we voted on new bylaws that are now in place. We also discussed at length the Wizards game that was then being planned but has since taken place on October 6th. It was a great success and the kids really loved it. We secured a date and a backup date for the annual basketball game. They'll be March 15th or March 22nd depending on snow, so mark your calendars.
Doesn't the middle school just have a play around that time?
No,
It's
that's
usually
it.
like the first couple weeks of March, I think.
Okay, all right, just want to double check that
But I
doesn't
think-
cross.
I think Karen coordinated the whole calendar,
Okay.
so here's hoping. If not, we have a backup date.
Yeah.
It's fine. We talked about the enrichment programs that continue at Clintonville. We are piloting a Harry Potter program currently in American Sign Language. And Monawese has since started adopting the STEM Academy in the same vein as the Clintonville enrichment programs, which is, I haven't gotten any feedback on Monawese's yet, but the parents at Clintonville are really loving the new enrichment programs. It's quickly becoming a time-honored tradition. We've got lots of fundraisers, lots of pie and cookie dough fundraisers happening. The SROs were introduced at the open houses, as we kind of talked about previously, and they were all very well received. And everyone is looking to build membership for PTAs and PTA Council via Facebook. So the PTA Council Facebook page will be up over the coming weeks. There was also some substantive discussion on the turf fields, again. Came up at length because there were some children who were anecdotally talking about needing to ice their feet, and they were also talking about being caught off guard that some sports are playing there, and Dr. Cronin and I had a great conversation about this. I know that Mr. Blumenthal and Dr. Cronin are already all over it, and
When you say some sports, what do you mean?
so soccer specifically, JV soccer parents were they expressed surprise at the PTA council meeting that they were not told that their child would be playing on the turf fields. And they asked that this feedback be presented to the board.
So when you say the JV soccer team, was it one parent, three parents, was it the whole team?
I don't know exactly how many. It was more than one. I imagine less than the whole team.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, because we had talked about it at board meetings, that sports would be played on the synthetic fields. Okay. So, my reason for asking is maybe we're not communicating to the parents, or are they not?
I'm not sure if everybody is watching all the meetings, and we haven't had a PTA council meeting in like 3 months now. So I think maybe just the summer hiatus may have
Could have.
caught some folks by surprise. So I think that that's just good feedback for us to have, and I know that the right people are on top of it.
Can I ask you what changed in the bylaws for PTA council?
Very little. It's just some verbiage changes. They're substantively the same.
Because they pretty much follow national PTA.
That's exactly right. But we changed like some dates of when we're meeting and stuff, but.
Thank you, Amanda.
Mhm.
I have nothing for athletics because Randy's not here. I know that they've had a couple of meetings.
Yeah, September 25th was the last one.
Okay.
I wasn't able to be there. Actually, it was our anniversary, sorry, I wasn't able to go. But I know that Randy's planning on presenting something at our next meeting.
Mhm. I think our November 8th meeting is going to be a long meeting.
And it's like 2 weeks from now, feels like.
You can remember on our November 8th meeting, we also have Jill Girardi coming to talk to us too. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the standing committee reports?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions on any of them? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Dr. Cronin?
Sure. So I have one item for you tonight, and that's the School Security Competitive Grant Program. That has come out to districts. We received information on that near the end of last week. This is round 4. Rounds 1 and 2, districts could apply for. Round 3, towns applied for, and now round 4 is back to districts applying for, which is good. So the completed applications have to be submitted to the Department of Emergency Management by December 4th, on or before December 4th. And it is a reimbursement grant only. So what that means is that the districts would go through their usual process for having work done and then submit those bills for reimbursement to the State Department. The grant allows districts to apply for reimbursement for security projects that have already been completed, going back to January 1st, 2013. And for projects that will be planned through June 30th, 2021. So there's a nice window there. This actually comes at a perfect time because if you remember in June, we provided the town with all of the building needs in terms of safety and security. We're going to use that as we start to work on this next week. North Haven will get reimbursed as they do for anything involving state reimbursement at 39.64%. So it isn't that, so my takeaway from reading through the materials here is that it isn't simply that we get a set amount of money to spend, it's that we submit what we've done. If it meets the criteria, then we will be reimbursed at 39.64%. So things that are covered include surveillance cameras, penetration-resistant vestibules, ballistic glass, solid corridors. Personnel costs are not covered, in-kind services are not covered. Landscaping, if you have to do some construction and then the landscaping to put it back together afterwards, is not covered. So I've spoken with Jen Kosnewski, our technology person, and Phil Diana. They did a lot of the legwork on the proposal that we brought to the town in June. And so the three of us are meeting next Wednesday to start work on the grant. And that's everything that I have.
Great. Melinda?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Well, next we'll go to Director of Finance and Operations. I'd like to introduce to everyone Jason Lathrop, our new Director of Business and Operations, as well as Human Services. This is your first full-fledged board meeting.
Yes,
So
thank you
welcome.
very much.
And we appreciate the work you've been doing thus far. You've really helped us out quite a bit. So thank you, and go ahead.
Thank you. I'll just follow up, as Board of Finance Chair, Mr. Vogan, explained, we discussed both the 16-17 fiscal year closeout and the 17-18 budget reports. And in addition to that discussion, there were narrative reports regarding the 18-19 fiscal year, along with a written narrative that will help guide you in regards to that report. Any feedback you have on those reports, whether it's too little, too much, or the narrative, please let me know. Glad to adjust or add more detail as you would see fit. Glad to help out in any way I could. But in summary, for the closeout of the 17-18 year, we spent $51,556,526 through the end of the year. We're in the process of closing the fiscal year over the next few days. So that number is a final number. And in 18-19, we have expended and encumbered $49,581,318, and that's through September 30th of this year, 2018. So we would look to complete our expenditures reports and get back to you in November with an updated report, and then report on a monthly basis to see how we're doing.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
And 17-18 finishes to the good.
To the good for $92,372.97.
That we will move into capital.
Correct.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
What I do need to do is have a motion to revise the authorized signers for the ED 099, which is the agreement for child nutrition programs to include both Dr. Cronin and Jason as signatories. So may I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We are now to the public comment section of our meeting. Go ahead, Mary.
Mary White, Summer Lane. I have some questions and comments. The first question is the billing system up and running so as to be able to bill the for-profit teams that already rented the fields?
No.
No? Okay. Do we have an idea when it'll be up?
I think that Randy will have that in her report
yeah.
in
Oh, okay.
November.
Okay.
I know they've been working on it, Mary.
Okay.
I just don't know the exact status of it.
Okay. Also, okay, so next question is the fee schedule, the policy, when will that be voted on by the BOE?
It hasn't even been fully brought to us yet. It's
Okay.
still in discussion at the athletic committee.
It's in discussion?
So
Okay.
perhaps next month, we'll have a full report.
Okay, great. Perhaps this next question is also for that. When will the review of the safe temperatures to play on the turf fields be ready for the Board of Ed?
I spoke with Mr. Blumenthal about that at the end of last week and again this week. He has reached out to, in addition to the CIAC, he's reached out to other school districts to see what their protocols are around the use of turf fields. And he is compiling all that information, and we should have it. We definitely will have it prior to spring sports when it becomes an issue again, but probably in January is when he was shooting to have it all complete.
Okay, because I think he was also going to contact the UConn that
He did.
Amanda talked about? Okay, so he did do
He did, I
that?
believe,
Okay.
Amanda. He contacted you around that.
So he asked me for the information. I think he was going to, so my
Okay.
assumption is that he did. But I also provided him what I had found.
Okay. And then there was, he was also the National Athletic Trainer Guidelines. He was also going to be looking into. So I know he's going
Working on
to a
it.
lot of sources.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so I spoke to the Board of Finance at their last meeting. What fun that was, okay, about setting money aside yearly to save for the turf fields replacement costs. And I did mention that the BOE basically doesn't really have a surplus, maybe 11,000, but not really because there's outstanding bills. So further, okay, along with the first selectman, we believe the town should never bond on an asset that depreciates so quickly. It wouldn't be wise to bond for replacement because the town would end up double bonding, double paying on 2 turf field replacement cycles, since bonding is 17 to 20 years, and the turf fields will be needing to be replaced in 8, 9, or 10 years. So I was very disappointed to receive pushback, especially from one particular Board of Finance member who compared my idea of saving for the turf field with saving for the new police building. So I disagreed with that comparison, since a police building has longevity, like decades, whereas the turf fields depreciate quickly and need to be replaced in 8, 9, or 10 years. There was another comment such as, other towns don't save for turf replacements. So I said, well, just because other towns don't save doesn't mean we cannot save. So that was a little, frustrating there, but I'm gonna keep plugging away at them. So I also spoke at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and I brought up saving for the turf fields, replacement cost there as well. So the first selectman stated the funding to replace the turf fields could come from A, they could propose a capital plan in each annual budget of $80,000 or $90,000 set aside to be subject to approval by the town residents. So that's kind of like my savings plan there. B, he said they could take some local capital improvement funds from the state and apply it towards replacement. So also at that meeting, so Sally Boyme spoke about the ad hoc athletic committee, and she had talked about how one of the things that there still, is out there would be the turf replacement plan. So she said that could Mike Frieda have a meeting with the BOE chair? And so he said, absolutely, I will do that. So my question is for you, Anita, has this meeting taken place? Have you been contacted?
I've been out of the country, Mary.
You've been out of the country,
Yeah,
okay.
so I just come back for work, so I'm actually meeting Mr. Frieda for something else next week, so maybe that will come in.
Okay, yes, because he's going to talk to you about ideas he has
Okay.
for replacement. I'm pretty sure he's gonna mention the A and B that I just did. So anyway, because he says he's going to, the BOE is looking for the plan, he's going to provide it. So that's that. Okay, so we know that the turf fields are lacking in amenities. Bleachers, bathrooms, concession stand, press box, etc. And this is really holding us back from holding these, or having these CIAC and these big events. So I had an idea about a funding source for these amenities. So I asked this idea at the Board of Selectmen meeting. So here it is. So I asked the first selectman if the Quinnipiac University voluntary payments in lieu of taxes, if they could be used to purchase these amenities. So Mike Frieda stated that it's a good idea. He said, but next year's payments are going to the Fire Department Training Facility Academy. But he said after that, yes. So,
Nice, Mary.
good news.
Good work, Mary.
Anyway, and that's all I had.
Thank you, Mary, very much. And I'll let you know, Mary, when I have that meeting with Mr. Frieda. This doesn't have to, my meeting does not have to do with the Board of Ed, but I will tell you that I've been approached about opening up a girls and boys club in North Haven. For the people who approached me, or the people who run the girls and boys club in Wallingford, and they thought it should come through the Board of Ed. We're working through it right now. I had a brief conversation with Dr. Cronin on it, but first we're going to look at it as a town program, and see where we're right in the beginning stages. So I'll keep you all abreast to that, but it might be a nice after-school program. I'm looking at it differently at that middle school age, because we have a lot at the elementary schools, but maybe something at the middle school age. So that meeting starts October 22nd, and then I'll keep everybody apprised to that, because that might be a nice thing to do. I worry so much about that middle school, 6th, 7th graders on the after school. I see them all the time.
Yeah, well, yeah, riding their bikes down this intersection. Where are we with late buses at the middle school?
We do have the late bus for a few days a week.
Yeah, well,
Not every day, but it's at least 2 days a week.
because I would hope that we could provide something that would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, not necessarily.
Right, yeah.
those kind of-
You know, I think we'll revisit the budget as we get maybe to mid-year, and then if we can increase the amount of time, we'll do that.
Anybody else for public comment? Okay, future agenda items. We have a packed meeting next week, next month, I'm sorry. So if we can all just try and be here for 6:30 and just know that it's gonna be a later night for that. Next, I need to have a motion to enter into executive
No,
session
we don't need
to not have that motion because it's not needed.
I put it on there just to be safe.
Thank you. So may I have a motion to adjourn at
7:25.
7:25?
Wow.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah, well, so moved. Let's not get caught up. So moved.
Right.
Second.
The motion passes. I'll be able to watch This Is Us tonight. Thank you, everyone.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.